All right. About Uganda, everyone. This is Professor Rahh, Professor Emeritus, California State University of Long Beach, former city councilman for the city of Compton, former Compton College Board of Trustees, and former Compton Unified School District Board of Trustees. We want to thank each and every one of you for zooming in this afternoon because we're going to have a very serious discussion, what we call phase two of the Black movement in the Long Beach community, as well as at California State University of Long Beach. So far, we have Mr. Ernest McBride, who's a longtime resident of Long Beach, and Mr. McBride, his father, was a strong leader in Long Beach as far as the Optimist Club and activist and probably one of the most respected elders when I came along and got to know him uh, and his contribution to the forward flow and the liberalization of Long Beach, which was very challenging at that time. We want to welcome brother his son Ernest, and then we got brother Paul Hudson, who was a former student at Cal State Long Beach, sister Lynda out of Florida, who helped start the African American Culture Center and worked with Ken Wubbacan on the Black Long Beach Press, a newspaper. We got Brother Mshinda out of Louisiana, and my son, Brother Kuumba Rahh, in Denver, and we have Brother RaSheed, who's in Vegas. And so we're going to get started. This is phase two. What we're trying to do, this is the Community Education Network. We want to thank Brother Rashaki Maskani, who's the person that put this platform together for us to have these critical discussions. And we're going to just, and his hard work, along with his commitment to keep this platform afloat. We're here every Wednesday and Tuesday at 6 p.m. And we have guest speakers and guest presenters on entree of various discussions, especially in nutrition on Wednesday about health, which is a primary uh, issue with us as a people. And they talk a lot about eating and nutrition and just all the things that prevent you from getting sick and hopefully serve as sometimes remedies for you in that way. So we look at that from that standpoint. And we want to, what we try to do is educate people. What we're trying to do with this platform, which is going to go all the way through Black History Month, is deal with the history of the struggle and the accomplishments and achievements of Black people in Long Beach as far as liberalizing that city, making it more liberal, receptive, and the struggle for them to gain political, cultural, and educational power through the arts, through the sports, and through the various things in the community, the uh, Long Beach Improvement League, as well as the various community organizations, the Optimist Club, the NAACP with Frank Berry. All of those things played a major part in the development of the Black consciousness movement in Long Beach, along with Coleman's Restaurant, Kelly's Bookstore, Black Bookstore, as well as other places, Frank Berry's Record Store, and all those places that served as a hub and a foundation, with the first Black city councilman, Jim Wilson, set the tone for Topsy, as well as Jim Smith and James Smith and all those brothers that followed behind him. D. Andrews became a city council person also. But at the same time, that was in the community along with the other organizations. But at Cal State Long Beach, there was a movement, a student movement. And you know, there's a lot of things that contribute to the consciousness movement. First of all, Long Beach Poly at that time played a pivotal role because that was the hub for almost all Black people that was in Long Beach to attend that school. I mean, Wilson, Long Beach Jordan, Milliken, all of them were predominantly white. But Poly excelled in sports, and it brought out Black excellence, Black productivity, and black development. With it may be Martha Watson, John Rambo went to the Olympics. I think both of them went to the Olympics, as well as D. Andrews and William Martin, and the role of Long Beach City College, where Ernest McBride played and others played. It brought the community together. Those sports were well attended by black people, and it produced a sense of tradition and family. Right now, if you go to Long Beach Poly, a lot of boosters and families still attend the games, and that were there for years. And so it's a tradition. It brought the community together, and they really turned it into a part of like um, a little black community of its own. So I like what Watts was. Watts was just a little area in Watts. Well, when you go down what now is Martin Luther King Boulevard, that was at one time California Street. And then you go over to Alameda's, and sometimes up to Orange, or maybe up to Walnut, and all the way back to Pacific, was mainly black people, and up and down. And I mean, they produced a lot of great athletes that went on to play pro ball, and we'll get into that a little later. But at Cal State Long Beach also, their black excellence with regards to the um, uh, uh, contribution in sports, and then just integrating Cal State Long Beach to the EOP program and educational program. So what we're going to do is let a few people just speak on their experiences, because Brother Woodrow called me and he was telling me about that history. I tried to get Evelyn Knight on, and as well as Dale Clinton, who's going to be was the Grand Marshal for the King Day Parade. That's a tradition in Long Beach. And I tried to get D. Andrews on. And maybe they'll come on later, because they have a rich history and it needs to be told and documented through this Zoom, so that others know that things didn't just happen. Sometimes when kids are born, they think it was always that way. They think they could always go places and do things, and things of nature, and it wasn't. It was a struggle. And like Frederick Douglass said, without struggle, there's no progress. It never was and never will be without struggle. And some people need to know that, so that they can continue to struggle, one. And second, have a morality of remembrance and deference to those that paved the way, those that provide the shoulders and the backbones at which they stand on. So anyway, brother, let's start with you, Paul. Your experience at Cal State Long Beach from the black perspective, and how and it doesn't matter what year it is. We could sort that out later. Just remember, this will be on YouTube, and others can refer to it to see your comments. Go ahead.
First and foremost, Brother Rahh, appreciate you allowing me to join the call. Secondly, I learned a lot the 4 years at Cal State Long Beach, especially from Rahh. He brought me up to speed as far as the black perspective. A lot of things I was very, I guess, naive on, but he brought me up to speed. He allowed me to utilize the skills that I had as far as tutoring in Linwood High School for geometry and algebra, etc. So as far as inclusion, you taught me a lot, Brother Rahh. And that's really all I have to say. I thank you very much and looking forward to continued participation in these calls. Thank you.
All right, then. And Paul's modest. Paul was an institution. He helped us keep that tutoring program at Linwood High School, which was a free tutoring program, which I encouraged my students and gave them incentives to go and tutor young people free in the community. And we moved, well, first it was at Whaley Middle School in 1979. Then we went to Juvenile Hall. Then we went back to Linwood High, and then we went back to Compton College. And we were at Compton College from 89 to 2004. And I just want to thank Paul for his contribution. He helped a lot of young people with their math. And it was just a beautiful project at that time. And thank you. And that was because it was Cal State Long Beach, under the auspices of Cal State Long Beach. Thanks, Paul. Lynda, are you there? Lynda Shorter? She's on her phone. She may not can go into it. Another brother here, Mshinda, we're gonna get to you and your San Diego State activities also. But RaSheed, you there, brother RaSheed?
And yes, I am here. I couldn't find my mute, but I am here. Yes.
All right, Lynda. Tell us about your experience with the African American Culture Center, you and your brother Regisho Muhammad, where it was, and also your experience with the Black newspaper and other aspects of Long Beach that you remember.
Okay, yes. And one thing you did not mention is we started the very first African American, well, it was a black bookstore. It was called In Touch Books and Videos on Atlantic Avenue. And also you mentioned the Martin Luther King Parade, which they did not have a Martin Luther King Unity Parade, and it was Councilman Smith at the time. So we helped put that together. Myself, Maurice Anderson, and I wish Errol Parker was on here because he had some input in it also. So we did a lot in Long Beach while I was there, and worked with a lot of the Poly High School teachers. Sheila Dunn was a part of it, but she's passed on. And I just
You also worked with Ken Wubbacan, didn't
Oh
you?
yes, of course. That was at the newspaper. I'm sorry, I forgot about that because he's passed also.
I didn't know that. I
Yes,
knew he
and
had
then
moved down to Mississippi. I knew
and
I
also that also since I'm talking, then also I was a part of BAPAC, which is the Black American Political Association of California, and I was the president back then, and that's when Willie Brown was in office, and he encouraged us to have a chapter in Long Beach, and we started that and worked on that and just did all kind of things in Long Beach. We used to call it Strong Beach.
Yeah, Strong Beach.
Because we stood strong and kept trying to do what we could where we were at that time. Yes.
Okay then. Okay, Kuumba, you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right. Now you served as president of the BSU. You graduated from Cal State Long Beach. What are some of the things you remember? What are the things you reflect on?
A lot. First, there was no way I could have done what I done at Cal State Long Beach without your mentorship. And just growing up in the household, I was probably a member of the Long Beach family long before becoming a student. And I always remember meeting Barry Thomas, and Barry probably most the first person who was like a big brother to me. The experience at Long Beach State in regards to being BSU president and things of this nature, we sort of just was building off everything everyone here had built before us. We called it Jama 2, second family. And that second family was something that we lived by. The preamble that Thabiti wrote, we read before every single meeting. So there was a lot that we done, keeping up the Black Consciousness Conference, recruiting students. We would bring 300 to 400 students from Long Beach Unified and Compton Unified to the school, have them fill out their EOP applications as well as their school applications while they were there on campus, and try to bring as many Black students to the campus as possible. That work couldn't have been done without the foundation that was laid by the individuals on this call right now.
Okay then. Brother Ernest McBride, now you got a rich history because you lived it with your father, and you lived it with all the activists of them days. What is the things that you remember about the struggle in Long Beach?
Well, I remember here because for me, it was kind of, growing up here in California. And then my dad, he used to tell me back in Mississippi and Little Rock where he was raised, wasn't like that. And things were much different. His experiences and mine. And I think what really got him on the road to the struggle was in 1927 when he was in Little Rock and they had that famous lynching that was where they drugged this Negro around, had chain around his neck and hooked him on the back of a car and was dragging him up and down Main Street in the black area. And his older brother used to work in a Greek restaurant as a cook. And my dad used to go meet him. He was about 20 then. He would go meet him every day to walk home with him. And so when he was in the restaurant, they said a white guy charged in there and told him to say, hey, don't go, and pull the shade down. Say, don't go outside because they're looking for a black man to hang. So somehow or another they, and I kind of read the story online because they had a black reporter that wrote about it. And he was saying that somehow or another this gentleman, this white woman claimed he hit her or something, threw a stick at her. What happened? He jumped in front of a horse and buggy and kind of startled the horse. And then she ran and complained, and then the crowd formed and they ran and chased. They knew who the guy was, and they chased him down, found him hiding in a tree, and they pulled him out of the tree, and then they had this, the rope around his neck, dragging him up and down the street. And then my dad and his brother and the people and the guy that owned the restaurant, they had turned the lights down, was peeking out through the shade, and he kind of witnessed this. So this kind of formed his feelings about the black struggle then. And then when he came to Long Beach, he said what he used to talk to my brother and I and tell us, say, I saw the same things happening here that I saw in Little Rock. And he say, well, I'm not running any further, so this is why I'm going to put up my stand. So that's when he and my mom and them got together, and 3 friends of his, and they decided to form the NAACP because they figured the best way to do this struggle is not through violence, because he had kind of studied Marcus Garvey and Mahatma Gandhi in school. He went to Scipio Jones High School in Little Rock, and he formed, hey, the only way to really try to do this is try to do it peacefully as you can, So that's what kind of got him on the road, and they formed the NAACP, and then they just started to fight right in Long Beach, because at the time he come, there were no good jobs for blacks in the 40s. They formed it in October 1940 is when they got the charter. And they, and then everything was a struggle. Their first struggle that they had, they worked at the Long Beach Naval Dry Docks, and they would not allow blacks to be in the electricians union. He was an electrician apprentice when he worked out there, but they wouldn't let him be journeyman, wouldn't let him join the union. So that was the first struggle they had, where they broke that union up, and they got him to hire blacks. So he opened that up, and then, just struggle after struggle, because I can remember as a kid, even here, you couldn't, if you went downtown, you couldn't, the only place you could eat down in Montgomery Wards had a counter where they would serve sandwiches, but they wouldn't allow blacks to sit at the counter. But you could order something there, to go, but you couldn't sit there and eat. And about the only place you could eat was an aisle drugstore on Long Beach Boulevard and 3rd Street. And you probably remember Martin Veal, his dad, that was my grandfather, was the one that worked there and kind of opened that up for blacks. So the struggle, like you say, it's been an ongoing struggle. And then because I remember as a kid, I think it was about the mid-50s. They had a restaurant called the TKE on California Avenue, which is now Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, and they had a hall up, like a dance hall up above it, and that was the first time I heard Brother Malcolm X was there, and gave a speech there, and needless to say, when he got the crowd revved up, boy, you was ready to do anything after you heard him talk, so, but it was kind of, you know, come and go. Like my dad always said, it's gonna always be a struggle, and we got to hope that the young just kind of take up where we left off to kind of keep it going. So because everybody have to do their part.
Mr. McBride, I have a question.
Yes.
You said you got a chance to see Malcolm X in person?
Yes.
So was that in Long Beach?
Yeah, it was in Long Beach. It was a restaurant called the TKE, which was owned by Levi Howard, because I knew all the businessmen. At that time, Long Beach probably only had about 400 or 500. I think the census says then we had about 600 Black people in Long Beach. And so everybody knew everybody. And yeah, he spoke up there, man, and you talking about had everybody riled up. Yeah. Yeah.
What year was that?
I'm trying to, because I've been trying to place it, because I know it was before 55. So probably had to been about 54 or 55. Because my wife even remembers that. We weren't married or going together then, but she remembers that one too. So not many people left now. I can kind of, determine what exact year it was, because my wife, she's with dementia, and I'm her caregiver, so she don't really remember. And then my older sister would be someone else that would remember. She's got dementia, so no, there's nobody I can really confer with. I've been trying to research press telegram to see if maybe somebody did an article or something on it. But yeah, that was something.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Jenje, how you doing, sister? Now, you got a rich history of Long Beach. You were president of BSU at Cal State Long Beach, and it was strong.
Well, it's so nice
to
see everyone this evening. We're going to give thanks in the name of everything good. Yeah. And I know that you're supposed to discuss a little of the history, but the current affairs is in my brains today, boy, with the Latinos getting pulled over left and right. I work in a predominantly Latino neighborhood, and they taking them away, woo, left and right.
You watching it?
I work for Pomona Unified School District, and Pomona is a sanctuary city. And they're grabbing people coming out of the grocery stores.
Wow.
Any of that's happening in your neighborhood?
It's happening all over, according to the news. I know that they're going into churches, schools, and they're trying to build the numbers up, because Trump liked numbers. And he told them he was unhappy with the numbers that they were turning in. He wanted them to step it up. So they ain't just going to grab anybody that look Latino. And they'll sort it out later. But they want to build up the numbers of deportation, even if they have to be repatriated after they take them out of the country. They ain't going to talk about the ones they return. They're just going to talk about the ones they put out. They're going to falsify. But yeah, that's cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah. Boy, back to these well, where the other issue that I had a good laugh at today is I saw some little white young lady crying because she lost her job because she realized she was DEI. Lord God, that she was the one that got the benefits of the DEI as a little white girl, because you know the young little white sisterns are the ones that have a benefit from the DEI hires. They're the number one DEI hires. So it was funny to me. I don't know. I just enjoyed it. I really did. But yes, I was looking. So none of my sister or my brethren from the 70s, 77, 78 didn't show up tonight, eh?
No, but they'll be back. They'll be back.
They'll pass through.
Barry's maybe on the phone. I'm not sure. He's supposed to call back. Barry Thomas.
Well, we really need to get all that footage together and get one of these little independent film people now. These young little brothers are doing so much, and raw. We have so much footage still, right?
Yeah, a lot of videos. Yeah, a lot of videos. But they started the videos started in '79. The disc videos, the cartridges. We used to have to do reel to reel. The first Black Consciousness Conference was reel to reel, and that was in '79. Then we started the VHSs and Betamax. But we got a lot of pictures.
So when Dr. Ben was there and Dr. Robert Staples and Haki Marabutu and
we got them.
RaSheed, what a brother.
Yeah. We got all of them.
All that footage. Yes. I love me some Rashideen, boy.
May his good he brought in the world last forever. He made his transition, and me and him was real close. You know that. I took class to the topographical tour, and on Crenshaw, and because they had a strong mosque in Long Beach also, but it was a mosque. It was Al Islam. And, I invited Brother Safir and a couple other brothers that go to the Long Beach Mosque. At that time. Then before that, the Nation of Islam was strong in Long Beach with Trent Gaines and a few other brothers that were ministers in Long Beach. But go ahead, Jenje. Any other points you want to bring out when you were there?
It really fashioned my life. I became Jenje there. I walked into that room 1976 with Professor Amin Rahh. Just came back from the State of the Race conference. It was hot. Had our room higher.
Was that the one in Oakland? What State of the Race was that? Was that the one in Oakland or the one in
that was 76.
So that 77, 78, that was the State of the Race with the Pan-African Secretariat. And Hakeem Mahdi Bouti spoke.
I never went. You came in you were so, vibrant and ready, and it lit our class on fire. I remember Mashriki sang "The Greatest Love of All."
Mashriki. She sung that at every conference when we first started in the classroom.
She would sing that was so beautiful. That really set the pace. And then we had the name changing ceremony.
With
with
Jabal.
Dr. Beats and Salo
Yes.
and Jerry Jabal.
Dr. Sansal's in
And
Uganda. He's in Uganda right now. I talked to him. When he get back, he'll join us. You know,
he went home. He went
he's very
home.
instrumental. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, he been there a month already.
That's when Irvin Hurst, and we lost him.
Yeah.
And Irvin, he's the one that told us we need to change our name. We need to stand up.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
remember.
I, to this day, that's when my ID says Jenje. Yep.
Yeah, free people
And
name themselves.
I just, yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. And
that's
I
what
took
the
it to heart.
that's what the freedom movement is about. Free ourselves so we can be ourselves. And you can't be yourself unless you free yourself. That's our motto, Kawida. But we'll
And
come back. Go ahead, Jenje.
I wanted to say that I don't know if you knew, um, but my father, Eleanor Barbados, and his father, my grandfather, was a Garveyite.
Okay.
So then I end up with a Jamaican for 38 years. It seems my spirit was finding its way, huh?
Yeah, you got very
Rastafari.
musical too. Y'all started playing music and really into
Yeah,
reggae.
well, my family,
Yeah.
they are blessed with the talent. I am not.
Yeah, but
But my husband is a four-time reggae Grammy nominee for reggae music, and his sons, my son Blaze Mob, they have music. Yeah, man, it's my life. But this time at CSULB set the pace. Is the foundation of that.
Yeah.
Because I did not know about my grandfather involvement in the UNIA. I didn't know at that time. And if I didn't go through this experience and to this growth, I wouldn't have known to find that.
Yeah, yeah, that was United Negro
Yeah.
Improvement Association, Marcus Garvey, and Biden just pardoned him, posthumous pardon after his death because they falsified the charges against him. He was he was deported, way
He
before
was for the first
him.
one.
Yeah,
I
deported.
think he was the first. I think he was our first deportee.
Yeah, and Marcus, his son Julius, we had him at our Black State of the Race conference at Compton College. I brought him out along with Nathan and Julia Hare and Rashideen and over to Shaka. They all were at Compton College. I got the videos of Julius speaking. But we'll come back with you. Brother Mshinda, you there?
Yes, sir.
Now, y'all was doing activism at San Diego State, right?
No question. Yeah,
Okay, tell us about that. You and the Secretary of State right now, Shirley Weber.
Yeah, familiar with Cheryl. She was there teaching when I was there. I didn't take her class, but I took a lot of classes in the department, but they had quite a few instructors. And of course, I met her and all that, and being a freshman and sophomore and all that. And but yeah, during that time, you're talking about 33,000 students and probably less than 1,000 blacks, maybe 900 and something blacks. And so it was a kind of a culture shock for me coming from Compton, just being around that, a pretty much a white institution. But the good thing about it, I had good friends. Some of them I went to high school with, and we migrated on over to San Diego State. And but when I first got there as a freshman, got hooked up. They had a Black Communication Center, and they had uh, the director of the Black Communication Center, Korean Conway. She was leading this center. It was for people. It was kind of a safe haven, kind of a information resource for new students, for the Black students. And so it's kind of like, I kind of lured some of my friends, because I knew it, growing up, with civil rights activities as a kid and being around a lot, I was kind of magnetized to things like that. So, I kind of we got involved with it, and I became the student treasurer of the Black Communication Center. I was a freshman, and one of my buddies, he was the president, and another one was the vice president. All three of us, we kind of ran it from the student perspective, and our goal was to try to uh, you know, canvas the camp, check out the campus and see who needs what, letting them know about the resource of the Black Communication Center. And of course, we had a Black Student Union. I got involved with that, after that. But when I first got there, well, anyway, uh, at some point during the next year, the next fall, after we did a lot, I was working also with the Sickle Cell Foundation, or like a little part-time job, kind of like an internship, but we was paid. And just being involved, learning about sickle cell and things like that. I know how that affects on a lot of our people. And so, I mean, at a very young age, we were like 18 years old, 19 years old. Then moving on into like I say, they wanted to take they wanted to remove the Black Communication Center, turn it into a parking lot because they wanted to build some new dorms. Oh well, no, they were going to make it into a parking lot by the frat houses and things like that, and just add more parking on campus. So we did a protest, and me and my buddy, actually I was pledging a fraternity, and we led the march. We had probably, I don't know, several hundred people behind us, and we led the march all the way to the president of the university's door, knocking on the door, and we just chatting and things like that, just showing strength and letting them know that you can't take this resource from us, and then. But anyway, we lost the battle. We tried, but they eventually they tore it down and so forth or whatever. But we were on front page of the school newspaper and the largest Black newspaper in San Diego, the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint. We was on the front page of that, the march, not that, I wasn't looking for no publicity, but they had us plastered on there, and it was a big deal at the time. And so we was steering it up at a young age. And then, of course, getting involved in the BSU as a student worker, and then we ran the whole student center, and so a lot of my folks around me, my brothers, we ran we had all had jobs in the concerts and and the Black Student Union. I became the treasurer. Did that for like a year. Did the treasurer position, and so they wanted to, at the time, back in the day, they had the gay student union next door to the Black student union. And, not that, I'm hating on my gay brothers and sisters, anything like that, because, I've never been a hater. People do what they want to do as far as I'm concerned. But at the end of the day, they wanted to merge the center. They wanted to say, we're going to put the gay student union with the Black, y'all can share, that kind of thing. And so it wasn't about, and at the time, politically correct or whatever, however we want to say it. But we wanted our own space, and not just me, but I'm saying the president and the student body, period, that was, the ones that were utilizing the services of the Black Student Union. And of course the gay student union, they wanted their own space as well. So we raised hell about that, and they never did. We held our ground and we kept our office, that kind of thing. And so it was a lot of things that was going on back then. And so and remember again in my early days meeting Kwame Ture Stokely Carmichael on campus. He he was standing on the phone, he was on the play phone, and I said, hey, I knew who he was, and I yelled out his name. He said, hey, brother, you ready for the revolution? That's what he said. I said, yeah, we was fine. My buddies never didn't realize who he was, but I did, and shook his hand, and it was an honor to meet, a brother in the struggle. And then, of course, Dick Gregory came there, and we had like a little private meeting with him, about maybe 20 of us, and he was pretty much, in a serious mode, giving us game, telling us, being conscious and vigilant, and all these other things. So, a lot of good influences came out of that, and as far as anything else, we had a connection with Long Beach State as well, because of my brothers that was over there. We would go over there and visit Long Beach State, and on a few occasions, being from Compton, when I'm in town, we might go down there to a party or go to just a function that was going on at Long Beach State, and that so it was some good times, and like I say, it made me who I am today. It's definitely had an integral part of my development, and so what I learned from back then, I'm still pushing it, at the college level, working with students, trying to get them to understand that hey, you got to handle your business. You got to take your game to another level. And so that's about it. I don't have any more to say. I know it was
All
a
right,
short.
man. But Brother Rashaki, you was a student at Cal State Long Beach. What about your experience in the 80s?
That's Barry Thomas calling in.
Okay.
Okay, Barry, you got the floor.
I need the floor. I just want to be a participant.
You're right. Well, you called just when they called on me, so I go after you.
Do your thing.
Okay, Brother Barry Thomas is here, everybody.
Jenje, you remember Barry? Okay, go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I had an interesting experience at Long Beach State because I went to Washington State out of high school on a basketball scholarship. And I had to leave there because things weren't right. And Coach Ron Palmer was the Poly High School's basketball coach when I played at Compton High School. And he became the coach of Long Beach State. And so when my coach called around to ask if any of the teams were interested in having me as a player, Coach Palmer immediately, said that he wanted me. So I came home, went to Compton College, and all this time, this was in '86. I didn't know anything related to the Black Studies program at Long Beach State. So I get to Long Beach State after a year at Compton College. I had to get my AA degree. And I played 2 years basketball from '86 to '88. Didn't know a single thing about the Black Studies department, but I was kind of active when they had a few protests. I know it was a young lady that worked at the bookstore, and I think Brother Kuumba would know about this. And you too, Rod. She worked at the bookstore, and they tried to frame her for a sale.
A nickel, Annette Cannoli.
Yeah, and all the students rose up and to her defense, and we did a protest. So that was my experience in those 2 years, doing something as far as activism. And then also I did attend a Kwame Ture came, and I attended a meeting he had, and there wasn't that many people there. And so I got a chance to see Kwame Ture and listen to his commentary and lecture, which was it was excellent because I recall something very important that he said back then, and I always repeat it, to other people. So it was just a few things that I participated in. I saw Farrakhan when he came to the Coliseum. And that was in between 86 and 88. But then when I finished playing basketball, because I was a athlete student back then, I was only a junior as far as credits my senior year of basketball. So when I finished basketball, my girlfriend at the time was pregnant with my first daughter, and I was 23 years old. So I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. I just know I needed to become responsible for my daughter and finish what I started by getting my degree. And I met Professor Rahh in 1986, I think. And at all this time, I didn't know anything about the Black Studies Department, and I didn't know the impact that Professor Rahh had on the campus and in his history. But when I met him at Compton College, because I was taking courses over there, general education courses, so I wouldn't have to take them at Long Beach State. I met Professor Rahh, and that turned my whole life around. I went back to Long Beach State to finish my degree, and I changed my major from recreational administration to Black Studies. And that the rest is what they say is history, and it's continuing now because I spent a tremendous amount of time with Professor Rahh in all of his endeavors from 86 until now, as far as him, being a councilman on the school board. He helped me, by employing me to put up signs and all of that, and been a mentor in me getting my degree and going forward, doing the things that I'm doing. And I've been teaching for 29 years, mathematics, and about to retire. And now we're doing this here, the podcast, and we have a book that's going to come out. I had wonderful experience with Kuumba, with his tenureship as the Black Studies, as the BSU president. He did an excellent job. I just had a great time being around him. And we also graduated together in 93. So, it's just been a wonderful ride, and we still at it. Although Kuumba's doing a lot of things, I'm finding my niche in the movement of educating. So it's just been a wonderful thing, and I'm elated to sit here and hear everybody talk so candidly about the experiences at Long Beach State and in the community. I grew up with under brother Mshinda. He exposed me to a lot of information, and it's just a beautiful struggle. That's what I would say. And we're still doing what we're doing, and there's more to come.
Yeah.
There's more to come. Okay, Professor Rahh, you want Barry to jump on and say something?
If he feels like it.
Barry, you gonna say something to the people?
Yeah, I do that.
Can everybody hear Barry?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Barry.
Well, first of all, I'm just want to say it's honored to be a participant and very grateful, for my time at Long Beach, because it definitely shaped the kind of person that I am. Helped find my leadership ability and leadership skills, and made it clear on what my charge is to do, and it's to constantly work on behalf of our folks and the upliftment of our folks, and whatever particular endeavor we go in, to always take the leadership role and be out to make the place better than we inherited. And I credit Long Beach with that, for opening my mind and truly educate me, to the highest level, and being exposed to the best and brightest minds that we had to offer other people. And it's been a carryover to this day. And it permeates my life to this day. And, learning a lot about, you know, just the history, because I came in with a degree of knowledge about it, because my cousins and uncles were all in the counterpart. And but as a kid, I was in Simba, and so it was just so it came in with a degree of certain knowledge. But I always often question people, like whether it's Professor Rahh, Freddie Davis, Don Duran, rest in power. I never understood that as a freshman. Those guys just poured all kind of knowledge into me. And as a freshman, they made me a counselor. That's what I know. Didn't know much, but they taught me. And then they taught me how all aspects of a university work, learn how to empower ourselves through it, and carve out our niche to make sure we always got what we needed. And I used to question it. I even asked Professor Rahh that once, like, man, why did y'all just pour it into me like that? Because I didn't understand. But I'm grateful that they did. And to be able to look back on, on the things that I decided to get involved with, is constantly for the uplift of our people. They just shot a special today, and I put 12 years of my life, 14, into the Black College Expo, all over the country, putting kids through school. And they released the number today of how many kids, we raised, not only did we get them in school, but we raised money to go with them. We raised over $7 million for them to go to school with. And at this date, 25 years of work, we've educated right about 97,000 kids. And those were life changers, many of our first generation folks. But the spirit and the energy and the vision all came from Long Beach State. So I'm grateful.
All right. No, but Barry Thomas is a legend, and he's very modest about his role as a tactician and a strategist for the progress of students, administration, and the whole gamut of activism at Cal State Long Beach. He was the center of keeping people together, staying in contact with people. Right now, he constantly stay in contact with as many of the people that went to school with us, with him, and he was essential in almost every aspect of progress of the Black existence on Cal State Long Beach during the 80s. He helped get many Black people hired at the college in administration and any other position he could get them in. And he kept students engaged. And the stronger the students were, the stronger some of the Black people could be. Some turn out not to be as appreciative of his efforts as far as when they got into their job. But some of them did do excellent things. But without the students, who was the most intimidating aspect of Long Beach State and activism, and without the student leaders like Barry, Rose Kareem, Jenje, a host of it, diabetes, we can go all the way down to Brother Muhammad in Oakland and my son and all of them that kept the Black consciousness movement going. Let me just tell you this. I have a very strange history. I grew up in the projects, the Pueblos. That's where I became conscious in South Central Los Angeles. And I come from a big family, but it wasn't that big at that time. It was about maybe 6 of us at that time. And then when my father, I used to watch him catch a freight train to go to work down at Long Beach Naval Shipyard. And at that time, blacks was working where they, where was asbestos and all kinds of stuff at the shipyard. Because my father died of cancer at 47. But I grew up right there in the projects. And then we thought we was really moving up when we moved to Watts. We moved to Watts right across from the Pueblos all the way to 101st and Central. And that was a very eye-opening experience living in Watts. Because, they had black gangs, the baby Romans, Roman 10s, Roman 20s. I don't know why we named ourselves after the gladiators, the Orientals, the Royal Gents. I don't know why they were naming themselves after them people, but I grew up all around all that. And we used to cross the street. It was Will Rogers Park at that time. Now it's Ted Watkins Park. And this was in the early, late 50s and going into the 60s. Then we moved deeper into Watts. We lived on 101st and Central. Then we lived on 109th and Watts Avenue. And it was a 2-bedroom house with about six kids, maybe 7 at that time. And so we used to sleep on let out couches, 3 in the bed, and all of that stuff. And our family would go get a sack of flour and make biscuits and beans, and a sack of beans, and that's what we ate all week. And so we grew up in Watts, and I got affiliated with street stuff. And then I moved to Willowbrook. No, I moved from 109th in Watts Avenue to 111th in Watts Avenue, and went to Ritter Elementary School where me and Matt Calvin met. And they put us in special training. No reason, just say y'all going in special training. Mac ended up at SC, and I ended up graduating with honors. But they put us in special training. Said we was working too fast. And there was a lot of other things that was going on. But it was very racist and discriminatory at that time. Blacks stayed to themselves. And Watts was really, Watts was just a name after the streetcar. The train stopped there. It was mainly 103rd at that time. And so then we moved from 109th to 111th. And then we I went to Markham. And my son, Lil Almond, and my daughter, Shakiba, taught at Markham, where I went to junior high school. And in those days, they had A and B7. A7, B7, and you went all the way up to the 9th grade before you went to high school. Now you can go into high school at 8 in the 8th grade, but 9th grade you had to, and we called it graduation then. They called it promotion now, and they changed it from junior high to middle school. So when I moved from 111th. I was in the B7 and A7 at Markham, and then I became a B7 student at Ralph Bunch Junior High. And we lived on 127th in Mona Boulevard. And then we moved to 126th. We was just moving because and my father was gambling and trying to keep the family going because they were laying blacks off. We used to say last hired, first fired. That's what the slogan, I think Ernest remembered those terms. The first hired, the last hired, and the first fired. And they were laying black men off, and they couldn't get unions and stuff like that, all kind of discrimination. So my father was a hard worker. We would go and get used cars and work in junkyards, and at that time you take battery cables off and you got the copper out of that, and battery head brass, and you sell that stuff in carburetors and all that type of stuff. So he just made ends meet. And so then we moved to 126th in Mona. Then we moved to 124th in Mona. And I just took up basketball. I wasn't really baseball then. I took up basketball, but I was always street. I was street because in those days, families like the McBrides in Long Beach, the Rambos in Long Beach, the Gaines in Long Beach, people went by names and families because they had big families, all of them was out the South, and they protected each other and they were strong and those things. And your family represented your reputation, how you were, or whether that good family or bad family. But anyway, so after Watts, I went to Bunch, and then I went to Centennial. And they said I would never get out of high school because I was street. I was straight out, just hanging out with, the roughest cats. But anyway, fights and, all that. But then Centennial, I got a scholarship after playing Centennial. Well, in 1965, the Watts Rebellion came. And I got a reputation for being in gangs and being in the Watts Rebellion. Some call it the Watts Riot. We call it a rebellion. And they talking about the slogan was burn, baby, burn, but the real slogan was get white, get white. And those things, we were throwing cocktails and bricks at anything white or light. And we were expropriating things. They called it looting. We were just expropriating and getting things that we felt that they took from a white front, all Safeway and all of those type of stuff. And they blamed us for a lot of the fires, but George Putnam came on the news during the Watts Rebellion and said, there's no looters insurance for businesses. So some businesses paid people to set their business on fire. Even they caught a couple of people in Long Beach. First person shot during the Watts Rebellion was shot in Long Beach. It was a police officer. But anyway, getting back to that. And so I did 45 days in juvenile hall for my participation in the Watts Rebellion. And then, so I couldn't get a scholarship to a major school. They wouldn't take in black. With any type of trouble in those days, if you didn't have a clean record and straight A, a good student or a superstar basketball player, you didn't get a scholarship. And so I got a scholarship to North Idaho. That was a rough experience. I'll get back to that later. So I came back and I went to Compton College. My father was sick, so I had to drop out for a semester. And I got back, and a brother told me, said, man, you so straight, you so hustler. Let me see you hustle a degree. And that turned my mind around. He said, if you can hustle these streets as good as you say you are, let me see you go to that school and get your degree. So that made me begin to study and begin to, put it with my basketball. Before then, my basketball carried me. I didn't care if I couldn't read, they put me on the team. If I couldn't count, if I never attended a class, they took care of us. And so, your grade point was really what you scored in the game. If you scoring 30 points a game, that was your grade point average, your beat. And so it was like that. So anyway, after the Watts Rebellion, I did that 45 days, and then I went to Compton College, got a scholarship to Long Beach. In 1967, that's when, the summer of 67, I went to visit Cal State Long Beach because we was going to start school in the fall of 68. And they started the BSU at Long Beach State, 1967, at the urging of a teacher named Clyde Taylor. Clyde Taylor, he influenced students, but you got to remember, Long Beach was on the map for its athletic. They had coach, a white boy named Mulligan, who coached, and they would win in CIF and track and football. Poly had a reputation for just excellence in sports. And then a lot of his players went to SC and went on into the pros and football and everything. So Poly, that set an example of achievement for other students to follow in those footprints. And I mean, they turned out stars after stars, that went on and did good with scholarships as well as the performance. And so when we went to Long Beach State, John Rambo went to the Olympics. The Rambo family was strong, and all his brothers and family. And it was, I mean, it was just a beautiful thing because Long Beach was different in many ways. In many ways, it was the same in the underground. You know, you had all the brothers that we used to go to the park. It's now King Park. Percy Anderson, Reverend Percy Anderson. His son now is a federal judge, Percy Jr. He went to Poly. But Percy Anderson was a Reverend, and he became president of the NAACP. He's the one that went in his pocket to finish the monument at what now King Park. They had put a monument of Martin Luther King, but they didn't finish it, or they did something wrong and they had to correct it. And nobody would give them the money. The city wouldn't, and nobody, but Percy tried to get a committee together, which I was on. And he just went in his pocket and paid for the restoration of that monument that's in the park today. And they used to have Martin Luther King celebrations there. It was a big thing. I mean, you know, right after the parade, they would go to that park and there'd be thousands of people in booths and just a sweet thing at that park right there off of Lemon. But anyway, and so when Tarkanian recruited me to go to Long Beach State, that's when they turned Division I. And then Jim Strangling came in '69 to turn the football team around. But before that, in that summer of '68, it was summer '68, I went to the first BSU meeting. And that's when they elected a brother named Tony Wilkins. Tony Wilkins was probably one of the most profound leaders. There was a brother before him who was appointed, but the first elected president of the BSU was Tony Wilkins. He was relentless. And that's how Black Studies got started. The idea of implementing Black Studies, EOP, and Upward Bound, and all those things that helped get Black people in school. We had 1,700 Black people at one time at Cal State Long Beach. And that was in the early '68, '69 with EOP. A teacher named Ernest Clark, he became director of EOP after this Latino. And he was relentless. In fact, he challenged Tarkanian and them in '70 that he was not going to help any more athletes get in through EOP if they didn't up the graduation and the academic standards. That didn't last that long because he left. He left in '70, as well as Clyde Taylor, who helped encourage the students to start the BSU. He left in '69. Joe White, who helped start EOP, he left in '68. All of them left. Then there was a brother that was from Long Beach, Ron Lunsford, who was a sociology teacher. He was strong at Long Beach State. He left. And the guy named Fillmore Freeman, they all went to UC Irvine, many of them. But anyway, what really helped put Long Beach on the stage, first Long Beach, Cal State Long Beach, first was Long Beach community activism, Long Beach Poly, and then Long Beach State, when it went D1 with Sam Robinson, Sean Johnson, who was a homegrown Long Beach brother, and there was another white boy named Dick Nelson, he was on the team. And anyway, when we went Division I and went undefeated at home and won 27 games or something and only lost about 3 or 4, they wouldn't give us a bid to play in the NC2A championship because that first year you had to get a bid. Even we won the PCCA, and they wouldn't give us a bid to the NC2A, although we had one of the best records. And then they wouldn't, and white team wouldn't play us. Temple told Tarkanian, we're not going, at that time, we're not going to play you. You got too many EOP students. And I was in the office when I heard that myself. He tried to schedule them for a '69 schedule, and he couldn't get teams. UCLA wouldn't play it. SC wouldn't play it in those days because we were up and coming, and they were established. and they were competing, recruiting out of Long Beach. And they didn't want Tarkanian to get so big that he would get their players. And so, but Poly, the Long Beach community activism, all of that played a part in opening up Cal State Long Beach and becoming a Division I school. Before that, they were Division II. And Division II is not as strong as Division I. Division I is highest ranked, and they play in the NC2A championship. So anyway, we played in those 2 years I was there. But I graduated with my class. I was the only Black athlete in basketball. Then Leon Burns came in '69. And that was the first time Long Beach went and won a bowl. They used to have a scholarship in his name. And they retired his jersey. Then they unretired his jersey, and they took away the scholarship in his name, as well as Sheila Ringer, sister that was one of the first people to be in the academic senate. They named the scholarship after her. She passed at Long Beach Memorial because she went there in an emergency, and they forgot about her. They left her in a room. She had internal bleeding. She bled to death. Her family wanted a modest suit. In those days, they just didn't pay Black people that much. But anyway, so the BSU, I became a member of the BSU in '68, the summer of '68, with Squeaky, Alfred Jones, and Chucky Marsh, and a brother named Warren, and me and Earl, and all of us lived in the dorms. We were the first to get in the dorm. In those days, they gave all your money twice a year. And nobody paid nobody. At least I didn't pay nobody. I didn't pay. I paid. They took the tuition out. But all the rest of the money, I didn't pay for my dorm. I didn't pay for nothing. Took that money home to my mama there. You know, I ain't never had that kind of money. $2,000 at one time. Hell no. You know, I went and bought my kids, my brothers, them clothes for school and everything. But anyway, so we went on. But then we started the BSU. I thought when we first started the BSU at Compton College, my first experience was in 1967. Me, Earl Frazier, John Lewis, sister named Mario, and Walter Taylor, and Michael Daniels. We listened to Malcolm X, Brother Ernest, Ballad of the Bullet, and Malcolm Speaks to the Grassroots. He had the album. We didn't have tapes at that time. We had an album. Man, that woke us up. And we formed the first BSU at Compton College. But see, I was in Young Men for Total Democracy in Watts, led by Bob Simmons. And we had Camp Brookings Factor. And I mean, I was in the movement. So when I went to Long Beach State on the basketball scholarship, Tarkanian said, when he recruited basketball players, he said, everybody wanted to know where the library was, where financial aid was, where the ELP office was, and, you know, where the gym was and stuff. He said, the first thing I asked for was, where's the BSU? Because I had heard about him. And so I met Laura, who went to bunch with me in junior high, and Valerie, and they had been there already. They went there in '66. And they invited me that summer that I visit the campus to an off-campus apartment where we had an election. And that's when I became Sergeant Arm of the BSU. And that BSU was so relentless, so strong, and so powerful with regards to their position. And what made them that way was the influx of Black students. See, Long Beach was not ready for that. That influx of strong Black students with Black leadership, with a doctrine and a sense of direction. And it was influenced by the overall Black movement in the '60s, because there was activism on all campuses. And remember, they risked their lives. Because at Kent State, the National Guard shot students dead. And at Mississippi State, at Jackson State, Mississippi, they shot students dead, raided their dorm. for demonstrating for integration and against discrimination. Shot them, unarmed students. I mean, they weren't shooting back or nothing. They were just marching against the war and against racism and discrimination. Now, what we're going to do, because I don't want to keep y'all too long. It's going on 7:30. We're going to continue this with other individuals that were at that era. I'm hoping Martin Veal come on, hoping Carl McBride come on, because Carl's first wife, who's Ernest's brother, Lynda McBride, and the McBride family was strong at that time. Was my first secretary when I became head of Black Studies. And then I'm going to tell you how the Black Studies, how I became the first chair of the reconstituted Black Studies, and that whole history. And Brother Paul, we're going to lead up to your era, and we want you to come back. Sister Lynda, we want you to come back. Jenje is always consistent. RaSheed, is you there? RaSheed, you on mute. Well, he may have stepped away. But anyway, Rashaki, tell them what's happening tomorrow. We're going to sign off and then come back next Tuesday. Because we're going to do this all. We have a moral responsibility to raise our history. Go ahead, Rashaki.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now, Rahh?
Yeah, brother, I've been trying to get you on.
Oh, man, I've been on mute. But I've been listening to some good history. I'll be seeing you guys next week this time. Yes, sir.
All right, then. All right, go ahead, Rashaki.
Okay,
Yes.
so everybody, can you hear me, Rahh?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me pull this flyer back up. So we're starting another podcast series, and tomorrow will be our first podcast series that we're going to do called Roots Reggae Reasoning Sessions. And
Jenje.
and we had this brother Kuumba. He's residing in Rhode Island now, but he's from, like it says here, he's from Moreland Hill, Westmoreland, Jamaica. And he's an excellent artist. We had him on before, and we just had a real good show with him. So he's gonna kick our new podcast series off tomorrow night.
You home?
Okay, so that's what we have tomorrow.
Okay, let me call you right back.
Welcome. It's open to the public.
All right.
And that's what we have going tomorrow. Okay, Professor Rahh.
All right, listen. Next week, I'm hoping that I can get Evelyn Knight, who was a very instrumental person in the movement in Long Beach, along with hopefully DeAndre to come on, and a few other people that were there in the Long Beach movement. They have a rich history, and it needs to be told. We have a morality. The role these people played, standing up, infiltrating. Now people can move all over Long Beach. Mr. Ernest, remember, you couldn't even go through Signal Hill.
Yeah.
They had their own police department in the heart of Long Beach. Had their own police department. Signal Hill. Signal Hill is really Long Beach.
And prior
they had
to
their own
that,
city.
My dad said they used to avoid, people go to San Diego, they would avoid Long Beach and go through Signal Hill. Because Signal Hill wasn't bad, like, in the 40s, like that. But then that Ron Settles thing happened, man, that's when they just got real bad.
Yeah, one of the first demonstrations was Roland Peterson, major demonstrations at Cal State Long Beach. And that was, now we're going to go over that too. Roland Peterson was shot by Dennis Vershaw at the Parks apartment. He was running away from the police, and they shot him in the back and killed him. And so we're going to go through all those struggles next week. But hopefully you come in. And those that are interested in the reggae movement and jazz tomorrow night. And we're looking for young people who have a message that would like to speak. on any subject that's relevant to our consciousness and education. This is called Community Education Network. So if you know anybody, put their name, contact Brother Rashaki or myself, and we'll try to contact them and see what they have to say. And if they have a strong message, we'll put them on. This week, this phase 2 will be on YouTube. If you know anybody that wants to know what we talked about this evening. And RaSheed, you'll be the first person called on next week.
Yes, sir. I'll be here, Rod. Thank you, sir.
Because he's the first graduate of Black Studies, 1975. He's the first. We struggled. The degree was written in 71, but they wouldn't approve it. No, 72. And they wouldn't approve it until 75. And he was the first student to graduate in Black Studies. He's going to tell you.
And I thank you for your mentorship and your professorship in my life. You know, I could not have done it. I thank you, sir, my brother.
You must be kind, brother. And became financial counselor at Cal State, as well as one of the most him and J.P. Mark, one of the most intimidating brothers because they were veterans. And they thought they had PST or something on campus. All right, then. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Conscious Corner, and each one teach one. We're going to take our pause.
We're taking a pause. It's not goodbye.